It is most certainly cold today, I can tell you. But I need to come round here and carry on with this really a little bit for at least an hour or so, just to carry on with it. It's the the engine that there's a crank that I've done the other day, which I've rebuilt. I put that in, put new seals. These gears will only go in one way really, as long as you get your forks in the slots there, in the 3 slots, you can't go wrong. It's pretty difficult really to put the gears back together wrong anyway on these. They're pretty simple. When you take them out, they'll come out in one lump anyway, and they'll go back in one lump, unless you're going to change out actual different cogs or whatever. So it's dead easy to put in and out, no worries there. So if anyone's doing this for the first time, don't worry about the gearbox. It's a cinch. And the as for the crank, I mean, I put the new timing chain down there already, ready for putting it on later. Saves me feeding it through, if you know what I mean, when the engine's put together. The only thing with the cranks, when you put the cranks in, each of the gullies have got a little pin which fits into the bearings, into the bearing shells. So if you start this end, if you lower this end in and get that pin lined up, that will slot in, and then the next one, wait till that slots in, and you know, the crank could slowly drop its way down until you get the last one in, put the last one in. And they give you a couple of little marks here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little mark there which is supposed to line up with these, but these holes in these bearings were drilled off centre, so that you'll never see this mark this side, and this one's about 1/8 of an inch up, and that's just, you know, and that's don't try and line the marks up, but you never get the thing in the hole. So there, that's the top half of it ready to go together. Bottom half I'll give it a clean up, so all I've got to do now is put the my favourite sealer on the faces here, and then we put the, I always put it on this. It's easier to put the sealer on these faces than try and go around all the little fucking bits and pieces in here. So we want to get these, definitely get the centre ones as well, get a good bit of seal on the centre ones. So if you do that on the centre ones, then you don't really need to put those copper washers and dome nuts on the other side. That's basically where the oil will come from. That's the only reason they do that. Everything else is reasonably cleaned out. So what we do is we'll put the sealant on this, and then we'll put the top and put the bottom back on the engine, put them back together. So right, 1 second and I'll be back. This is stuff I use, Honda Bond 4. This shit is unbelievable. Best stuff I've ever used, this is. Honda Bond 4. Gets everywhere though, that's the only trouble. we go. Do these two up, just nip them all up and then torque them up all afterwards. Too cold for this. It's going to get down. Right, so let's think about that for a minute. So this cog here connects with this one here. This cog here on the outside connects to the starter motor. Push the on, line it up. Once they're all torqued up, then we can more or less take that off of that jig, put it on the floor and then start on the top end. So I'll be back. Right, let's take it off. Now let's move it. Let's move it. Yeah, it's fucking heavy, this thing now. Now it's got all the bits and pieces to it. I'm just putting a chain tensioner in, and it's 4 screws that go in that hold that in place. They're sort of like posi-drive screws, Phillips screws, whatever. 2 long ones and 2 short ones. 2 long ones go over this side. 2 long ones go there, and the 2 short ones go in that side. And then we use some Loctite. Put the Loctite on these screws before I put them in there. Hopefully I'll have some of this left. So I don't want them, don't want these coming out really. Not there. Yeah. All we're going to do is just put a start gear in there, and then we just rebuild the top end, and then we'll put the engine in the frame, and then we'll carry on with whatever else needs doing to it. Just get the tricky bits out of the way. We got that one like so. Right, so that's your setup. So you got that piece and that piece, and they all go together. This little luggy bit here goes down in there, like so. Okay, it's connected to the fucking starter motor, isn't it? Right, so once you've got that in there, I don't know if you can see that where that lug is. This has been worked on before. This engine's definitely been worked on before, because that's the teeth on that are almost new. It's like it's never hardly been used. Luckily for me. So we've got loads of little bits. We've got two of these little half shells that go in there. One. Find the other one. And two. They go in there into a little slot. They've got to sit inside a little slot. Is it too high? It's not high enough. Right, again. Do that timing. Doing. There's one. There's two in that slot, and you get this little funny washer that holds them in place with a lip on it, and you get the circlip. I'll show you to find me. Go get me circlip pliers and put that on. That's it. Let me put that circlip on. There we go. And that holds all that lot into place. Here we are so far. I've taken all the valves and the valves and everything out of these. Put the new valve guide seals on. So they're all ready to they'll be all ready to go back together, really. I've lapped the valves in on that, but I've taken them home so I can grind all the carbon off of them, because they're pretty much carboned up. I cleaned the pistons up a little bit, so put the new rings on. And now I'm going to plonk the pistons in the barrels, and then we can put it on the engine. And that's probably as far as I'm going to go today, because my hands are freezing. It's freezing cold out here. I think my camera's steaming up on the back, so I'm just going to whack them in, do that. What else have I done? Oh yeah, got some new bits. So back footrests are on now, so they're all sorted as well. Right, let's get this done. I just put this, all I want to do for today is put the pistons in them barrels, put the barrels on the engine because it's too cold. Just give it a little tap. And that was in. So, method 2 of putting these pistons in. Right. On the bottom there's a little tiny angled bit. See, it's easy when you know how. There. A little bit around the other side. Looks like it's all in. That's it, and that's how you do it from the bottom end. Don't know if you saw what I was doing there. Just going to grease the gasket up to go on, ready for the assembly. Trying to be quick because my fucking hand's cold. I'll go home. This is too cold out here. Oh yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. It's actually the 1st of January 2021 today. And it's like deadly quiet outside. I think everyone must be sleeping over with hangovers and stuff around here. I ain't heard any planes go over, nothing. Dead as a door now. Right. Well, these only go on one way, facing front. Big hole, and a little lumpy bit at the front as well. So can't go wrong with them. Fucking heads. I'll put there's a couple of little orange O-rings you get in the what's the name, in the gasket set. Fucking hell, fucking old age, man. It's fucking your brains up. In another 10 years time I won't even know what a fucking XS650 is. These orange O-rings, if you're wondering what they're for, right? What they are for is to stop oil going up between the liner and the barrels. If oil gets up between the liner and the barrels, then the liner can move. It might slip on the oil, become loose. So that's the reason for these O-rings at the bottoms of the barrels here, is just to stop the oil going up into the in between the liner and the barrels. Come on. There we go. Right. Looking good. Push it in a bit. Right, it's got to go in a bit more. There we go. Are we down? I put the PMA in, permanent magnet alternator, and I've got them pistons that bang on top dead centre, so there's like no movement when I move. The pistons are staying still when I move the thing backwards and forwards. So oh, it comes up a little bit there, look. So my existing line, which I've done, is probably right. Right, it's catching on the cam chain, so I can't. There we go. Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel top dead centre is about there. So it's just to the right of my little black line, which I marked previously. So that'll do me, I think. That'll do me for today. Need to do that really while you've got all your stuff out to get as exact as possible. And put the bits and pieces together now. Like I say, I'm going to take the valves home and grind them, and get all the carbon off of them on my wire wheel, and we'll carry on from there once we've done that. But I can't feel my hands anymore. Look, solid. It's so fucking cold out here. I'll see you in a bit. Well, I'm going to give the grind the valves in. So basically, get yourself some grinding paste, some fine and coarse. Start off with the coarse. Just whack it around your rim of your valve there, and just grind it in there. Lift it up every now and then. Anyone spend about, unless they're really fucked, about 5 minutes on each one. Right, valves are lapped in. Put our first valve in. And we want to put our spring. When these valves go in, there's a little washer in there, like just like there's the seat for the springs. Just make sure you got them in there. You generally don't want to come out when you take them apart, because it all just sticks them in there. But make sure they're in there before you do anything else, otherwise we're going to run into trouble. Like I say, I've put the new valve guide seals on, and now we put our springs on. So you've got two springs, like a little safety spring, big spring, and the top hat. And we find what we've done with the. We get our. This is I bought this thing from. It's for a car when I was doing cars actually, but it works a treat on these heads. So if you can see that, you put that. Best camera view really. This bit goes on the valve, and we put that in there. Stuck in bits in the way there. And we clamp him up, making sure this is pretty central on the spring. And we clamp that down like that. So that you can get to where the spring is there. So you need to get into the top of that valve. And what goes in there? Try and do it so that you can see. It's not the easiest of jobs to do. Basically, you've got a couple of collets that go in there. These little things. they sit with the big part at the top, so they drop in with the aid of a little screwdriver or something into the tops. It's probably easier if you put, again, if you put grease on these so they don't all ping about and they can stick where they're supposed to go. So them two without dropping them. I don't know if you can see in there, but that's basically where they go. And once you've got them in there, you can carefully let the spring go. And what happens then is they lock your springs onto the valves. And that's, and there's your first valve in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do all them before and come back to when we put the head on. Right, where was I? Down there. Okay, in through there. Drop him on. Like so. Let's put that there for a second. I can't get it up now. Don't fall in. Got our valves nicely in there. Okay, splash guard there, that's alright. Nicely cleaned up, that'll be right. So let's put that through. Like so. Line these mothers up. Wheel, fucking epoxy chain guide. Right. Are we on? Are we on? Yes, we're on. Right. There's a notch there, which is the top dead centre notch in the cam. It wants to go to your left. So you're going to chuck that in on the left hand side. Like so, for the moment. So you got them two bearings there. These end cap things, whatever they're called. Basically clean it up nice and clean, so you've got no gasket, no O-ring, nothing on it. Right. And so get these bearings where they're supposed to be, or in the best place they can be. If you line this up without the gaskets or anything, you can see as I push that on, that's actually on the bearing. So if I was to leave them bearings where they are there and then screw this up tight against the head, and it's going to be hitting the bearing possibly before it actually tightens up on the head. So I do this now with it all completely clear without the gasket or anything. You just tap it, so now this case is up against the head and not the bearing. It's equal with the bearing really. So when I put the gasket on this, you'll have the gasket and O-ring thickness away from the bearing, so that'll compress now tight down onto the head and not up against the bearing. I'll do that on the other side. I'll be able to see a bit on the other side. Not the best camera angles. Show you what I mean. So we put our cover on. See, this covers right up against that bearing. Actually, the cam's too far over anyway. So it's right up against that bearing, and I've got something like a good 1/8 of an inch or so gap there. So if I was to leave them bearings where they are there, put the head on and then screw this on, this part would be up against the bearing before it tightens down on the gasket. So we tap that in. I need a small hammer really. But right now I'm up against the head. You can hear it metallic, and I'm up against the head now. So when I put that gasket on this cover, it won't be reaching them bearings. It'll be compressed up against the head. That cam that will be central now. That won't be moving either way. And it's just not quite up against the cam, so you've got a little bit of movement there. Probably 2 or 3 foul maybe. And I'll show you where the actual bearings are sitting now. They're sitting level, more or less level with the inside edge of that, and that's just inside. So that's where the bearings are seating. Now I've got no worries now about putting these sides on, these covers on, and having them leaking. They won't leak. Right, next part. Right, now I've got my top dead centre mark, which is this black line. I used the centre of that black line. There's actually a line there, and I knocked a groove into the casing there, so that's at top dead centre. I want to keep that where that is on the cam. You see the mark on the cam here. That mark needs to be around there like that. This chain wants to come on. And that's making sure that it's in the right place. Yes, yeah, and that'll be your top dead centre. That's setting up the cam on this side, top dead centre on this side. Just to make sure, give him a good screw up. Right, managed to get the engine in. And a bit of a job to get it in because the sump bolt had set itself in one of these on the other side, which was a pain in the arse to get it out, to move it over. But it got there in the end. So yeah, so far we're finished. A bit more of it off tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and that'll do for this video. I think it's long enough as it is. And in the next part we do the tappets, get all them set up. What else? Yeah, put the clutch, put all the clutch and bits and pieces back together. Do all that tomorrow, and yeah, and put the other side bit on, and the advanced retard, and put all that together as well. So hopefully it ain't going to be too cold tomorrow, and we can get on with that. So until tomorrow, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, and see you later.